You're listening to Cosmic Cousins, Soul-Centered Astrology. I'm your host, Jeff Hinshaw. Cosmic Cousins is a weekly astrology podcast dedicated to creating a sacred container for deepening your connection to the cosmos. Each episode offers space for ritual, meditation, and contemplation, supporting your journey of embodied health, self-discovery, and deeper learning. Thanks for tuning in. Gold in my skin carries the weight of my kin. Hey, Cosmic Cousins, welcome to another episode. This is our Leo new moon solar eclipse episode here in the heart of August of 2026. And I'm just taking a deep breath into the heart. This is the part of the body that Leo is connected to. I just went on a walk, watched the sunrise, and now the sun has literally come over the building next door to me, and the sun is shining right in my face, which feels quite appropriate, connecting to the energy of Leo. So just as a gentle reminder, at some point today, just go outside, connect with the sun. But remember, this is a solar eclipse, and so we're going to get into what the solar eclipse means for us, what the south node of fate being in Leo means for us. And so welcome to the podcast. Again, my name is Jeff Hinshaw. I'm an astrologer and mentor, teacher, tarot practitioner. Before we get in today's episode, I would just like to make a few announcements. The first one is that right now, the year-long Immersion in Living Astrology, the Cosmic Cousins Soul-Centered Astrology Certification Program, is open for enrollment. I'm taking applications at the moment. We have a group that's forming, and I'm so excited and honored to join in community in this way. So if you're looking for community support and guidance on your journey of astrology, this year-long program begins September 8th, and we meet twice a month throughout an entire year. So it goes from Virgo season all the way to Leo season of 2027. We'll be diving deep into soul-centered astrology. We'll be exploring birth charts, planetary cycles, tarot, embodiment, ritual, and also the deeper myths that are woven through the cosmos. And so if you are a beginner on your astrology path, if you are wanting to deepen your practice, this is an immersive program that's designed to help you build a lifelong relationship with astrology. And so I'll put a link in the show notes to learn more about that, where you can also apply to be a part of this year's cohort. And I also have astrology readings available, tarot readings available, and I have another offering that I released earlier this year called Cosmic Mixtape, where I choose about 12 songs based off of your birth chart and send it to you as an MP3 so that you can learn about your birth chart and learn about what songs I intuitively feel embody the soul purpose in your birth chart. And so you can check all of that out in the links below or visit cosmiccousins.com. But for now, let's come into our body. We always bring awareness to our body and our breath here on Cosmic Cousins. This is a way to bring all of the cosmic insight that you're receiving and bring it into a more somatic approach. And so I'd just like to gently remind you of Leo's body parts here on this Leo new moon solar eclipse. Of course, Leo's connected to the heart, so you might place your hands at your heart center. Just take a deep, nourishing inhale in here. I'm going to share with you the 3 phrases that I intuitively selected for this Leo new moon. I always choose 3 verb phrases, and you can use them as prompts for journaling or pulling a tarot card for each of these 3 phrases. And oftentimes I will use the phrases that are often associated with the sign, but for the eclipse, it does change the energy a little bit. But for Leo, new moon, solar eclipse, I soften, You can breathe that into the heart. I trust, I persevere. I soften, I trust, I persevere. Breathe that into the heart. Breathe that into the spine. Leo's also connected to the spine. Lengthen the spine. You can roll the shoulders up towards your ears and then down the back. Leo's connected to the shoulders, the entirety of the chest cavity, the heart center, the spine, and you could breathe up the back of the neck all the way up to the crown. The crown chakra is connected to Leo. You can think of royalty here. And also the hair, of course. You might even rub your hands into your hair or onto your scalp, giving yourself a little massage there. I soften, I trust, I persevere. The Leo new moon solar eclipse is upon us. The exact date and time of this is Wednesday, August 12th, 2026 at 10:35 a.m. Pacific time, found at about 20 degrees. It is 20 degrees in 1 minute of Leo. So you could look to that part of your chart. And I wanted to apologize for not releasing a podcast episode earlier this month, or actually at the end of July, for the Aquarius full moon. I actually ended up getting sick for the Aquarius full moon. It was conjunct Pluto, and I am a double Aquarius. And so it's been quite a ride from the Aquarius full moon. So you can think back 2 weeks ago to this Leo new moon moment as we are now officially in eclipse season. And so you can imagine there's been a lot of changes in my life as a double Aquarius, but for many of us around us, there's been many shifts and changes taking place. And so in ancient times, solar eclipses were often regarded as ominous disruptions. And particularly when it came to the fate of kings or rulers. And so, in a sign like Leo, which is associated with leadership and regality, we may see both in our lives and in the lives of those around us shifts of authority and visibility and who or what is truly fit to occupy the throne. I mean, we've even been seeing some of that in the astrology community recently with Stephen Forrest and some of his racist remarks and lack of accountability in that. And so I did write a Substack article on that topic if you want to check it out. I'll put a link to my Substack in the show notes as well. So we've been seeing it in our astrology community. We've been seeing it in the collective too, but you also might find that there could be a sense of dethroning happening in your own personal life too. The South Node of Fate is now in Leo. And if Leo teaches us anything, though, really what I want to anchor into on this new moon is to not overthink. You know, Aquarius, the polar sign of Leo, Aquarius is a sign that's a lot about thinking and tuning into collective consciousness, cosmic consciousness. And Leo, of course, also is doing that because it's on this same polarity to Aquarius. So Leo actually evolves through Aquarius, but Leo teaches Aquarius and teaches all of us to drop out of our head and into our heart. And so, if there's one simple ritual for us to engage with on this solar eclipse, it is to drop in and truly express gratitude of the heart. And so, you may take a moment as you breathe into the heart. We're connecting to these phrases: I soften my heart. I trust my heart. I persevere. Your heart is perseverant. So, what are you truly grateful for? Breathe into your body, allow yourself to reconnect to what brings you joy and that which you are most proud of. Now is a time to release all aspects of your performative self in service of true liberation and authenticity. And so for some of this it's Leo. It may feel dramatic for some of us. It may feel confronting. For others, it might feel kind of liberating or joyful. But either way, how might you completely surrender your ego in the name of love? This is something I remind myself often as a teacher, especially when I'm being called in person to teach. Teaching online feels a little different to me, but when I'm being called to teach in person, I have to remind myself that it's not about me, it's not about the ego. It's not about being seen and celebrated. I'm doing it out of love. I'm showing up from service, from the heart. And so, how might you completely surrender your ego in the name of love? How might you release aspects of your performative self in service of true connection and community and liberation? So, I think here for this Leo new moon solar eclipse, we might be having a lot of revelations around some of these themes. And if you're not feeling it yet, don't worry. We have a whole year and a half left of the South Node of Fate being in Leo. So let's open ourselves up to true heartfelt connection on this Leo new moon by inviting greater freedom into your life, which is Aquarius. It takes tremendous courage to allow yourself to be seen in your vulnerabilities, to be heard in your vulnerabilities. So, the Leos in my life that I know and love, which we're going to listen to two songs by two Leo risings that I love, it takes a lot of vulnerability to express yourself. And so, the Leos in my life I know are very vulnerable, but they're also very brave. It makes me think of the strength card in the tarot, which you could put out on this new moon. And really, Leo is left with no choice but to be vulnerable. And when there's a lot of Leo energy, which there is at this moment in time, which we'll talk about all the other planets that are in Leo in a moment, the path forward will let itself be known when you give yourself permission to truly be held by love. The path forward will let itself be known when you give yourself permission to truly be held by love. So let's do our first shufflemancy. There are two Leo risings that I want to play a song for. And by the way, Felix the third, who has the opening track to Cosmic Cousins, is a Leo. Just wanted to name that. And the two other Leos that I'm thinking about on this Leo new moon solar eclipse are my dear friends Hannah Ramone and Lindsey Mills. I'm thinking about them not only because they're Leo risings, but also because 6 months ago, on the Aquarius new moon solar eclipse, February 17th, 2026, you can think back to 6 months ago. That's when this new eclipse cycle of the Leo Aquarius axis was started to activate. Um, they both flew out, one from Florida, one from Washington, to celebrate the release of the travel tarot deck that I created with Lonely Planet. It just came out on the Aquarius new moon solar eclipse 6 months ago, and they both performed at that Joshua Tree celebration. So I'm thinking about that. That is something I'm proud of. What are you proud of? What have you created this year? I'm thinking about that tarot deck that came out just 6 months ago and reflecting on all my friendships and the people that came out to celebrate me. So I thought I'd do shufflemancy, which is something that me and my friend Lily of the Valley, who's also an astrologer, created shufflemancy together, where you tune into something, you put a playlist on shuffle, and then a song appears. And so I tuned into this Leo new moon solar eclipse. And the first song that we're going to play is by Hannah Ramone. And the song that we landed on, I thought was really interesting. It's called Secret War. And this is what Hannah texted me about it. That song is about the internal struggle when you know you got to change something, but your whole world will come crashing down if you do. Sound familiar? But if you don't listen, you're effed. It's about the conditions we allow our own selves to get in and knowing we have the power to get out of it. Hannah says, it seems pretty eclipsy to me. And then they said in parentheses, it's the most brave you got to be, in my opinion. So yeah, honestly, this feels very eclipsy to me, this idea of your whole world coming crashing down. And I think, the Tower card is a card that could be put out during an eclipse for sure. Sudden revelations, sudden awakenings. And sometimes we already know deep down what needs to change, and eclipses can reveal that. we know what we've outgrown. We know where we've been compromising ourselves or performing a version of who we think we're supposed to be. And so the difficult part isn't always recognizing the truth, but accepting what will have to change once we do. And so, why don't we go ahead and tune into this song by Hannah Ramone now to allow us to further integrate the energy of this Leo new moon. And what I think is really interesting is that this is quite a long song. So I'm excited to listen to it. I think it's like 8 or 9 minutes long. And so I'm gonna go ahead and play that song for us now. Again, this is called Secret War, and it's by Hannah Ramone. I'm just making sure I'm sharing the sound here. And so let's tune into this song now.
Screaming up in arms about how you live. Just tell me I'm something. Just tell me I'm focused to fall in line, to set a table, to follow.
Hey, speaking of crashing out, I don't know if you heard it at one point, but my whole microphone stand crashed. And so if you heard a boom during the song, that's why I'm not sure if it will pick up on the audio, but I absolutely love that song for the energy of an eclipse. It felt I mean, it's very Leo, the song, but also it just felt very Eclipse. And I love how at certain points it was a bit quieter and really took us on a journey. And then at other points, and especially towards the end, it picked up and started building momentum, which is something that I feel like is an energy that I'm feeling for this Leo new moon eclipse. And so, what are you already aware of that you can no longer unknow? Like what is being revealed to you at this time, and what might become possible if you stop fighting the part of yourself that already knows it's time to change and to let it go. And so that song was awesome. I definitely am going to listen to it again. It's added to my favorites. Thank you, Hannah Ramone, for sharing that with us. And yeah, let's go deeper. What happens during a Leo solar eclipse? From an evolutionary perspective, eclipses mark major endings and turning points, sudden upgrades, timeline shifts, karmic closure, fateful realignments in one's life. So I do think that that song we just listened to really speaks to that. Fateful realignment, especially if you're a Leo and or an Aquarius. I mean, these are eclipses coincide with these moments in the year when something we have been moving toward suddenly becomes unavoidable. So imagine like you've been thinking about things, making changes. Eclipses will support that. And so it's when an old chapter reaches its natural conclusion, or when life asks us to step into a new version of ourselves that we have been preparing for all along. And so eclipses can sometimes feel out of our control. But for me, it's similar to the Tower card. It's like spirit stepping in. Eclipses can feel destabilizing because they may interrupt the usual rhythm of our life. And so you can think of like the power going out, like a power outage, and then coming back on. But they also illuminate what is ready to shift and what is ready to change. And so some of us, we might not experience anything that feels disruptive in our life, and that's okay. It's not going to affect everyone the same way. But if you have a lot of Leo energy, or Aquarius or Pisces. The interesting thing is then we have a Pisces full moon eclipse in 2 weeks. And so we're still transitioning fully into that Leo Aquarius polarity. We had an Aquarius eclipse in February and then a Virgo eclipse in March. And now we're having Leo and Pisces. And so we're not quite to the Leo Aquarius polarity, although in 2027, our eclipses will be solely in this Leo Aquarius polarity. So Leo is asking us particularly personal questions. I mean, Leo is more about your own purpose. So what happens when you stop waiting for permission to become who you've always been meant to be? What happens when you trust in and follow your heart? And so sometimes we think we're following our heart, but if we're thinking, that's our mind, right? And so really drop into your heart again. Leo is connected to this sacred center. Leo is connected to also our creative life force. So this might also connect us to the solar plexus, also to the child within. I'm thinking of the sun card in the tarot. A friend just texted me and said that they had a dream about me last night, and it made me think of the sun card in the tarot. This is what they said. They said, I had a dream about you. We were trying to find pools, and we ended up at this gym that had a nice sound system, and we took the sound system home with us to borrow, question mark. And we were covered in merch from the yoga studio that you teach at, including a giant flag on your car, and it had really big sayings plastered on them. I wish I could remember what it is. And I said, did it say, quote, healing is the new nightlife, which is a phrase that I like to say from time to time. Healing is the new nightlife. But the flag, the giant flag that they're mentioning, reminds me of the child in the Rider Waite Smith tarot that shows a kid with a giant red flag or banner that's completely in the nude, being set free. So, Leo energy is this child within that's being set free, that's being liberated. It's making me think of how right now I'm looking around my apartment and pretty much everything that I own has been released to the world or put in a storage unit because I'm moving on Friday, on the 14th, my half birthday, and having a very eclipse moment where I'm suddenly changing homes. I mean, I knew my lease ended at this time, but um, I'm moving somewhere I wasn't expecting. So that's happening soon. So yeah, Leo is the part of us that wants to create something, to love fully, to perform, to celebrate, and to express. And so think back again, I was saying 6 months ago, we had the Aquarius new moon solar eclipse on February 17th. That was right as Saturn entered Aries. And so, what is unfolding for you now? And what are the threads that connect you back to that time period? You also might think back to the last time we had Leo and Aquarius eclipses. And so, past cycles of this was 2017 and 2018, which is interesting because 2017 was a Wheel of Fortune year, a magician year, a 10-1 year, and this year, 2026, is a Wheel of Fortune magician year. But yeah, 2017, 2018, early 2019 is the last time that we had Aquarius Leo eclipses. And then also, if we go back before that, 2008 and 2009. And so that's when the nodes of fate were in this axis. So, 6 months ago, right? We stood beneath the first eclipse of this larger story, the Aquarius new moon solar eclipse on February 17th, and that eclipse opened a doorway into a new 2-year evolutionary cycle along the Leo Aquarius axis that's asking us to reconsider our relationship to individuality and community, right? Individuality, Leo, community, Aquarius, to creativity, Leo, and our true authenticity, Aquarius, to leadership, Leo, and the future that we are co-collaborating in together. And so now, 6 months later, we return to that same story from the opposite side. This time, the sun and moon meet in Leo. This is bringing the evolutionary focus inward toward the heart. And then in 2027, we will continue to have eclipses during Aquarius and Leo seasons. So pay attention to the shifts and changes that are happening in your life this month. Write them down and then revisit them in February 2027. I'll remind you of this. For me, again, February 2026, the travel tarot deck I created with Lonely Planet came out on the Aquarius new moon solar eclipse. And now, here on the Leo new moon solar eclipse, 6 months later, the yoga studio that I've been teaching at announced this week that they are closing in less than a month. And I'm also unexpectedly moving to a new place to save on rent and to build in community. So, what is unfolding in your life during these pivotal moments of the year? They are communicating something to you about your journey. And this actually brings us to our next song that came through for this eclipse shufflemancy. It's called Arms Akimbo. Arms Akimbo by my dear friend Lindsey Mills, who is also a Leo rising. I learned a new word today. How did I not know the word akimbo, which means standing with your hands on your hips and your elbows sticking outward? And the cover of this song is actually Lindsay as a kid standing with her hands on her hips. And I immediately thought of myself as a kid. That was a stance that I would often do. It's a very particular Leo energy. Like, excuse me, what's going on here? What's going on over here? It makes me think of it's very Stephanie Tanner from Full House. Like, how rude. So there is a little bit of humor here to Arms Akimbo. But the song is actually asking deep, vulnerable questions. And there's that Leo word again, vulnerability. So, some of the things that this song is speaking to is when will the other shoe drop? How long can I keep waiting? I mean, these are also very eclipse questions. And I think that that is such an interesting image for where we are in this eclipse story because sometimes an eclipse doesn't immediately tell us what the new chapter is. Sometimes it simply feels like we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Um, it removes the thing that was holding the old chapter in place. Sometimes eclipses can do, and sometimes there might be a moment of just pause. And so we're standing there, arms akimbo, looking around on this eclipse, being like, okay, now what? And so that's where I find myself now. I'm just kind of amazed by the universe and standing arms akimbo. So let's listen to this song by Lindsey Mills to drop into this Leo energy. Lindsey Mills and I go way back to our Brooklyn days. Lindsey was part of the first year that the Fool's Journey was ever experienced. I think back in like 2013 or 2014 or so. And so here is this song by Lindsey Mills now.
When will the other shoe drop? Will it hit me on the way down? How many paces will I walk before X marks the spot? How long will I limbo? Please don't you lower the bar. I'm already arms akimbo. At this rate, we won't get very far. How can I break this to you gently when nature never does? Sometimes we must be dealt sadness to remember what happiness was.
Hmm. Sometimes we must be dealt sadness to remember what happiness was. I mean, listening back to that now, when I think of the arms akimbo, it's making me think of the hanged man or the hanged one in the tarot, who really has the arms behind the back, but their arms are akimbo as well, with their elbows sticking out. How long can I limbo? How long can I be in limbo? Is what it's making me think of. And the hanged one is connected to Neptune astrologically. And I do associate on a very spiritual level, from a more esoteric perspective, Neptune with Leo. I know the sun is the ruling planet for Leo. We all know that. But Neptune is one of those planets for Leo I look to. If Leo is really truly here to have compassion for the world, Neptune, Leo's purpose is compassion, but Neptune is about universal compassion, compassion expressed through music and poetry and dance and prayer. And really, in most Leo's charts, I'm very curious to learn where Neptune is to see how they are expressing that compassion. And these are both two Leo risings, Lindsey Mills and Hannah Ramone, that are musicians, and Neptune rules over music. So I am curious about Neptune for us here on this Leo new moon. Neptune is currently in Aries, another fire sign. So there's a lot of fire taking place right now. But that's what that song made me think of. Especially like sometimes we must be dealt sadness. Neptune's connected to sadness to remember what happiness was. This feels like a conversation between Leo and Neptune to me. And yes, thank you, Lindsay, for sharing that song. And please support these artists, these independent artists, Lindsay and Hannah. There's links in the show notes to both of their pages. And if you can, buy the tracks, support their work, send them some love, let them know how these songs spoke to you. And I just absolutely love both of them. And I love that they are both vulnerable enough to share that with us here. And so, yeah. Um, I think this, there's a lot of that song here in the invitations of this new moon solar eclipse. So why don't we why don't we talk about the this shift, the nodal axis just shifted. July 26, just like 2 weeks ago or so, if you're listening to this recording live, the north node of fate shifted into Aquarius and the south node of fate shifted into Leo. They'll always be at the same degree. They're polar energies, they're the nodes of the moon. And so July 26, 2026, all the way until March 26 of 2028, the nodes of fate will be in Aquarius and Leo. And so over this roughly like it's a little over a year and a half time period, both Leo and Aquarius are experiencing these fateful encounters, these we could say spiritual shakeups, renewal, new opportunities to realign on a path of evolution. And so with the South Node of Fate in Leo, we're coming back into contact with our own personal power. The South Node can represent like past life experience in this lifetime and previous lifetime. So we're coming back into our own personal power. We're coming back into our own creative life force. But the South Node can also be what we're releasing. So we're releasing outdated ideas about recognition. We're releasing outdated ideas about performance and validation. We're clearing out a lot of shame. We're clearing out the walls that we've built around our hearts, the ways that we've learned to derive our sense of worth from being seen and celebrated are shifting and changing to lead us on a path of greater authenticity, to open up space for greater leadership. So the North Node of Fate is then also in Aquarius, and this is a place of evolution and new growth. This might be, if we're coming from the South Node in Leo, releasing shame and outdated beliefs around vulnerability and stepping into community. There might be new friendships coming in, new community, new hopes for the future, new shared visions, new opportunities for collaboration, for a future that is truly rooted in interconnectedness and community. And so, over this time period that the North Node of Fate is in Aquarius, the focus becomes more about interconnectedness. The focus becomes more about the expansion of cosmic consciousness, about equality and liberation for all, where we are truly listening to all people, allowing everyone a seat at the table, and releasing the kings, the rulers that no longer serve us. We're learning how to shine, Leo, without needing to be the center of everything. We're learning how to participate in something larger than ourselves. If you are an Aquarius, if you are a Leo, this is the work that you are doing in this lifetime. And so the nodes of fate shifting into these signs, whatever placements you have in Leo and Aquarius, are having these shifts and changes and upgrades to better realign you with these principles. Freedom for all people is one of the most important attributes of this time. And so that starts with freedom for yourself. So, where have you been trying to belong by becoming what you think others need you to be? Where have you given your creative power away because you were waiting for someone else to recognize it? Where have you been trying to force an outcome that life is already asking you to release? These are some questions that I'm reflecting on. And it's further amplified because we do have this major Leo stellium right now. I know this episode is kind of getting too close to the end of our time together, but I would just like to name Mercury, Jupiter, the asteroid Hygeia, and of course the sun and moon, and the south node of fate are all in Leo. So it's hot out there. This eclipse carries an especially potent emphasis on Leo because we have Mercury, Jupiter, Hygeia, the sun, the moon, and the south node of fate all gathered in this fixed fire sign of Leo. And not only does this create a powerful concentration of Leo energy, it also amplifies all the other fire happening in the cosmos right now. We have Neptune, Saturn, asteroid Pallas, Eris, and asteroid Vesta in Aries at this moment in time. And so, on one hand, when there's a lot of fire present in the current astrology, it can lead to creativity, to passion, to expression, to devotion. While at the same time, it can also lead to a lot of fatigue. I mean, too much fire with not resources or earth or air to support that can lead to exhaustion, to burnout, to taking on too much heat. So I'm thinking about it being dry and hot in the desert in the summer here, this Leo season where I live in Southern California. It's been up to like 115 degrees here all week. So the need for extra rest and grounding, closing the curtains and putting blackout curtains up and just going outside only early in the morning, going outside only in the evening. It's like a different kind of routine when there's a lot of fire. So with all this fire on an eclipse, this time could also be very alchemical. It's leading to a powerful burning away of stagnation, of spiritual debris, of what no longer is needed so that something more authentic can emerge. And so there could be something new that's emerging through all this. Fire can destroy, but it can also purify and refine, transform. So, whatever is becoming too heavy, whatever is becoming too performative or too exhausting to carry may be ready to burn away. This could be creating space for hopefully a more liberated expression of who you are becoming. And this is true for us the whole time the South Node fades in Leo, really, but especially during eclipse season. And also, this is amplified because Jupiter is in Leo right now, too. June 29th is when Jupiter entered Leo of this year, 2026. And Jupiter stays in a sign usually for about 12 to 13 months. And so Jupiter will be in Leo all the way until July 25th of 2027. So just that first part of Leo season next year, Jupiter will finish its time there. So Jupiter, it's the largest planet. It expands whatever it touches. It brings growth, knowledge, possibility into whatever sign it's in. It brings faith. It brings a willingness to take up more space over the next year in Leo. In this sign, Jupiter in Leo, it's amplifying the call to live wholeheartedly, to trust your creative intelligence, to grow your knowledge of embodiment, to remember that there is something inherently generous about allowing yourself the vulnerability to be seen. However, it's interesting timing because we know that there's the co-presence of the South Node of Fate. So this does shift the invitation toward releasing the need for external validation, even though we're growing our capacity to be seen. We're releasing the need for recognition and approval and becoming more discerning about what is truly worthy of our creative fire. So rather than expanding everything that has made us feel important or special, Jupiter and Leo along the South Node of Fate asks us to expand what is authentic, which is great. We have the North Node of Fate in Aquarius. And so we are allowing outdated expressions of the ego to fall away. So this storyline will only continue to build momentum as we head into 2027, especially during Aquarius eclipse season next year and into March and April, because we'll have Mars, which Mars will be retrograde in Leo next year. We have Mars, Jupiter, and the South Node of Fate will all meet up in Leo, especially during March and April. They're just within a few degrees of each other. So Jupiter will finally make it up to the South Node of Fate, and Mars will be hanging out there too. So we'll continue to check back in with these themes, I'm sure. So whatever is beginning to reveal itself now during this eclipse will continue to unfold throughout the year ahead, giving these themes time to deepen, giving these themes time to evolve and to find fuller expression in our lives. And so Leo does remind us to connect to the sun, to connect to a higher power, to God, to godlike consciousness, to universal compassion, to call in the energy of the sun into your heart. You might do some sun salutations, you might do some heart meditations, you might do some lion's breath. And just taking a deep breath into it all. It's been such an honor to connect with you in this way. Again, thank you to Hannah and Lindsey for sharing their music with us. And as a reminder to all of you, one announcement that I didn't share with you is that I will be at the Palm Springs Art Museum on the Pisces full moon eclipse just in 2 weeks for a full moon event for Queer Arcana. Rachel Pollack, author of 78 Degrees of Wisdom, one of my tarot teachers, some of their original artwork is in a glass display there. There's some feminist deck from the 70s in a glass display and some other esoteric artwork that is by all queer artists over the last century who have used practices like tarot and astrology and other esoteric and occult practices as forms of resistance and healing. And so there's a beautiful exhibit at the Palm Springs Art Museum. If you happen to be in the Southern California area on August 28th, I've put together a team of other tarot readers. I'm going to be joined by Karina of Milk Thistle up in Joshua Tree, joined by Brandon Alter and Angel Lopez of the Spiritual Gaze, and also my dear friend Alan, also known as Mantis Tarot. All of us are going to be offering mini tarot readings at this event at the Palm Springs Art Museum again on August 28th. So you could come and join us. Also, the 1 year astrology program is open for applications and enrollment. We start in less than a month. We start on September 8th. We gather on Tuesdays twice a month. So please, if you're feeling called to gather in community, I would love to support you in that journey and get to know you over this year. And also, again, I have astrology and tarot readings available, and also cosmic mixtapes available for purchase. And thank you, as always, for tuning into the podcast. Without you, this show would not be possible. And so, a special shout out to Dara Schreiber and Jolie Kabrinsky for being founding members of Cosmic Cousins. Your contribution has helped me to sustain this podcast. And if you'd like to become a founding member, you could check out the links in the show notes. This is a free offering from my heart to yours. And so, any way you can support, even if it's just leaving 5 stars and some comments and reviews, it would be greatly appreciated. And so, I'm sending you all off with a lot of love, and I'll see you next time. Take sweet care, cousins, and remember, deep breaths.